Hey guys, my name is Johnny and I am your host for today's episode. We're doing our first ever episode for the Film Student Guide to the Industry podcast. And we're honored to have our first guest, which is Garrison Wood.
Oh, hi. Hi, happy to be
So
here.
glad to hear that. So we just have a few couple questions today concerning your experience and past work. We're here with a couple co-hosts. We got Hector and Josh and Alton. Um, do you mind doing a short introduction of like your previous work or anything you want to let us know that for the people that might not know who you are?
Yeah, I am Garrison Wood, independent filmmaker, film consultant, and lots of previous experience working in the film industry in a commercial capacity. Excited to talk to you guys today.
Gotcha. We're glad to have you. So to like go more in the deeper dive into the industry, what are some roles that you have like specifically done and focused more on? And do you have any tips for like students in college?
Yeah, I think the where I found most of my success was in directing and producing, sort of being that eye in the sky, bird's eye view, having a vision and executing on it. I've worked, as director of photography, grip, gaff, pretty much everything. All even PA stuff. So my experience has been pretty multifaceted in the kinds of things I've done, um, which I think everyone should have in their tool belt anyway.
Oh, do you have any like tips that you would want to give to some students in college?
Um, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of hard work and it's gonna suck sometimes. So you have to be willing to fail a bunch and put the hours in and make some terrible stuff because
Yeah.
pretty much everything I've ever made is garbage. Couple of cool things here or there that really took off and hit where we wanted them to land. But it's definitely a slog. Especially at first when you're getting started out, you're gonna make a lot of really dumb stuff that you don't want to show anybody, but you should anyway.
Yeah, I can relate. Like most, mostly all of us, we've probably all done some awful movies that we will
My
never speak about again.
my
But
my first short film for Nova was so bad. I tried to do a horror movie,
Hmm.
and for a horror movie, the kills are so lame. No blood. We tried to do like a practical effect of a head squashing,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
we did like a paper mache. And what my friend did, he stuffed it with chili. So the and we squashed it, and well, it was like kind of like shocking because it came out of nowhere. At least for my classmates back then,
Yeah.
they were like, "Whoa, wait, what was that?" But then like when they saw it, it's like, "Oh, that's not even like a real head. That's just paper." And then we on the recording, I had to like shut my friend up because he's like, "Dude, it smells so bad," and I was like, "Well, you gotta say that while I'm still recording, man. Now I gotta edit this
Just day
out."
old head chili. I
It
bet that
is.
smelled fantastic.
Oh no, I think the stain is still in his patio, like on the chair that we squashed it.
Oh yeah,
It was
there's
so
a big giant blood stain in one of my buddy's garages from a really awesome mob movie we did. Those things stick around, which is fun because you get a little reminder that you, hey, I made something here and lowered the value of this house considerably because of the crimes we committed.
yeah, it was fun. To say that it wasn't fun would be a lie.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that I even got an A on it. I thought it was trash, but then again, for my first like actual short film, I think it worked out like in the end. And it's fun to look back at it and then see the stuff that I've made after that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've done a little bit of progress. It's still kind of campy, but
Yeah.
it's out
it's
there.
still
Yeah.
it's out there. It's pretty good. So Johnny, have you done like short films for your other courses? I
Yeah,
assume
yeah,
you
yeah.
have.
I've done a lot of short films. I had a lot of bad ones. Usually, so I my first horror movie I tried to do ended out horrible. So I just changed. I made it into a comedy instead of keeping it as a horror because that's how bad the
Yeah.
horror was. So
That is the instinctive fallback is, man, this
yeah,
is not scary. It better be funny or we're
yeah,
screwed.
right. Be a good comedy, especially with like the different edits and like clips that we had.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I've done a lot, and I'm proud of some of them. Some of them turned out really good. Some of them we'll never speak of again, but we learn from our mistakes, and that's all that matters,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So Garrison,
Yeah.
I saw that you were a camera operator for the film Saving for the Day.
Yep.
What was that like behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I was an assistant camera operator as well as hyperlapse photography lead. So camera operating is different than being a director of photography, right? You're just the guy holding the camera, executing on that vision, specifically that vision. So it's very technical and less artistically driven, right? It's dials and knobs, making sure you're making the picture look how it's supposed to look. Hyperlapse photography, on the other hand, is a little weird. You guys know time lapses, like it's a camera and it's like, oh, look at the clouds go by real quick. It's like that, but moving. So it's really tricky to pull off right, because it's, you're taking a photo every couple of seconds and stringing it together into motion, with camera moves and everything. So it's a pretty technical kind of camera work, which, much like horror, can go terribly wrong and look awful. So it's one thing, and because it's so tedious, it's something you really have to know, like the camera, your equipment. You have to know. You have to, know the actual technical side of the photography a lot more than if you're just like, hey, I want, the depth of field to be this many inches or feet. I want, this framing. It's all of that and then some, which is, it's really fun. It's really fascinating. And it's a really unique way to operate.
Yeah. How long did it even take you to like learn graphs and like get a handle of it, if you can say? Because I haven't even tried to attempt it yet.
Yeah, so I'm lucky in that I started doing regular photography when I was a kid. I started taking photography classes when I was 8, from a photographer by the name of Raymond Meeks. You can look him up. He's pretty cool, pretty acclaimed. I was really fortunate to be able to learn photography from someone like that, especially as a kid, which really ingrained the technical aspects of photography for me really well. So I've had a background in still photography for a long time, which is very easily translatable into film, right, and digital video production, because it's a lot of the same philosophy, and then some.
They all kind of just fall aligned with one another. Going back to being a camera operator. So for me, do you have any tips that you would give to students wishing to become more focused on camera operating? Like, one of the tips I would give would be like hitting the gym, because sometimes you're holding the cameras for a very long time.
Yes, camera ops, grips, and sound people. Yeah. You got to be in shape for that kind of stuff, especially if you're doing less of the really old school traditional, like set the scene, set the tripod, let it run, do the thing. A lot of modern filmmaking is a lot more run and gun with the cameras, right? Especially at the level we are doing it, in that more independent, we're not a AAA blockbuster, and the production styles are vastly different. So I'm guessing you guys probably don't do a whole lot of locked shots, right? It's mostly moving around. Yeah,
it's mainly moving around, at least for me.
Yeah, so that's something. Physical fitness is a huge thing in the film industry.
Yeah, for my projects, I just recorded my stuff on my phone, so it's not like I'm holding like heavy equipment. Like, I'm just holding this baby, right? I guess some of those
some of those Steadicam rigs are pretty, 60, 70 pounds once they're all strapped onto you. So you're walking around with one of those things for, an 8-hour shoot day. You're gonna be beat to shit by the end of it. Beat to hell. Yep. You're gonna be pretty beat up by the end of it.
I'll add a bleep to it.
Okay, fantastic.
I'll totally agree with you. Last semester I had to make like 3 films, and I had to have like a shoulder rig. So it's just me holding big Sony camera for and we were shooting for like a solid 4 hours, because that's just how long it took. And I'm just here holding. I'm like, guys, it's getting heavy after like the third 4 hours.
This one too, with the for the sound guys, for the
boom ups, the boom. It gets draining after a while.
It's brutal.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I used to be a boom for a film. I was just standing there for like hours on end, and it was just like was spur of the moment, so I didn't like prepare or anything for it. And just like my arms are just there for like hours on end, and they're like, "All right, you're done." Like sometimes they forget that I'm there, and like no one tells me
Yeah.
to put my arms down. So I'm just there, and they tell you don't put your arms down until we tell you to, and they just forget that you're there. So you're like, "Can I put my arms?"
You don't strike until we tell you to strike, but also we're gonna forget to tell you to strike.
Oh
so.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And
I
like
think
for sound is like you can't say anything because you might mess up the audio on
Yeah.
like, oh crap, right? So, but yeah, no, I definitely get that. Physical fitness definitely one to put down on a note for any film students is very important to have, at least for equipments and stuff you plan to handle.
Yeah, the basics. Know your equipment, right? Never go into a shoot having it been the first. Don't go into a shoot using the equipment for the first time, even if it's new to you. Get your hands on it beforehand. Learn how, because all the cameras work pretty much the same, but depending on the brand, make, model, it's like a car. Sometimes the gear shifts in the console. Sometimes it's on the thingy where the steering wheel is. I don't know cars, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And photography classes, it's right there in the name. Composing shots, learning the rules so you know how to break them right, is like critical, because if you can't do the basic stuff, and I know it's probably pretty rote and boring and you probably know it already, but just that kind of repetition, it's like anything. It's like physical fitness, it's like learning a new language. It's fundamentals. It's like any sport.
I totally agree with you. If you don't mind me asking, I want to know a little bit more about you, Garrison. What basically inspired you in the path of film? Like, was it a movie, a friend? Was it even like a teacher or class that like got you into it?
Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit of background on me. I was a pretty sad kid. When I was in high school, one of those kind of lost, not really having a objective in life or direction, not really knowing who I am or what I want from things. And I was lucky enough that when I was in high school in my hometown, Hollywood executive from the 70s and 80s by the name of Peter Roston actually started a film school for high school kids, and the slogan of the program was "Find Your Voice." And through that, I not only found something I was super duper passionate about, but something that I was actually really good at. So that's how I sort of got into film production outside of the making crappy iPhone and camcorder videos with my friends, right? Actually learning the ropes, learning what these different roles were within the industry, learning firsthand what a set is from someone who's worked on film studios in Hollywood. So that was really, really beneficial, and through that I got connected with a lot of really awesome artists and creators, producers, just this really, really vast network of talent that I was able to osmose stuff from, to help me be more creative and more successful.
I got you. I heard you say the word networking. I think, at least for me, I think networking is very important, and it's like a key to success in the film industry.
Mhm.
Did you happen to go to college?
Yeah, so I went to a year and a half of film school, and decided it wasn't really for me. The reason being, I'm not saying don't go to film school. I'm not saying don't go to art school. I'm not saying don't go to college for media. I was just fortunate enough to learn all of that stuff while I was younger. So I felt like I was kind of retreading these same steps that I had already taken. So I started working with local studios like, at the time, With the Cause Productions, for Saving for the Day. They're now called Treasure State Studios, Montana being the Treasure State, and a bunch of other local production houses I was able to just sort of worm my way into and get stuff done and then learn and make things.
I totally agree with what you said. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, like you said you were. I learned a lot, at least for me, I learned a lot in my earlier years because I started young as well. And right now, me doing college, my mentality was more like school was targeting more towards networking than necessarily learning my craft. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean I wasn't practicing my craft, because every school has also like helped me make multiple films just for
Yeah.
homework in general. So like I've been practicing and learning as much as I can. And yeah, I totally agree with what you said. Like I could have just gone straight to the workforce. That's a decision every student has to make.
Yep.
And it's not an easy one, but you just got to stick with what you want to do and what you think is right.
Yeah, and I think film school is really good for that kind, like we were talking about earlier, for camera operators, the repetition, right? There's not a whole lot of spaces, even in the professional world, where you can crank out a ton of projects like that and really get that hands-on experience. That is if that's what you need, yes, go to film school, do that, take all the classes, consume of much of that. It'll be definitely worth, the dollars to donuts. That's the best way to do it. If you don't already have industry experience, or if you're not super, super, super lucky like I was.
Yeah. Does everybody else have
getting into? Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, Joshua, you can go ahead.
All right, but no, getting into the networking and stuff, I think you guys bring up a lot of good topics of whether or not it is worth going to film school, because I actually get that a lot from film students, including me as well, where we say, film school isn't the best. We're learning off YouTube, we're learning off, we can do this at home and stuff like that. I do think that there are, like everything, have pros and cons of film school. There are things that I wish happened differently, at least in our program. I don't know if other programs are different, but I definitely met a lot of people in the film industry who have not even been in a single film class and just went the long way around. I mean, Gaz, Errol, a good friend of ours, who told me, we were talking about film, and he owns a production company, and just said that he never went to film school, that he just went the long route, saved up a bunch of money, about like $5,000, to go to film and do his own thing. And now he's in a very successful production company and is doing very well for himself. But that's not for everyone. Some people like me, when going into this, and I think like everyone else, never had a type of what do you call it, like a connection to film. And really, in the film industry, it's very you get a lot of connections, because you get a lot of students there who want to achieve things, who have achieved things, or who are looking to achieve things. And
yeah, you hear this a lot, and it sounds kind of kind of played out, but it really is not what it's who right? You're not gonna end up on the set of a Marvel movie unless you know somebody,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that piece of film school, having that connection, those connections with your professors, doing film festivals, doing the 72 hours or the 48 hours, and just interacting with people, and just getting yourself out there in the universe, and becoming part of the zeitgeist in your local film and production community is huge as well. You don't have to live in Los Angeles to be a successful filmmaker.
That is true. I agree with that. Hector, you wanted to point something out earlier as well.
Yeah, it's I'm like kind of on the opposite side of Gaz and you, Johnny. Whereas I always wanted to be like somebody working in film, but I never got to do things hands-on. The most that I did, I just had like this little YouTube channel, and this is back when I was like 12. It was just a little YouTube channel where I just uploaded like me reviewing like random toys that I had. But that's the closest thing I ever had to like working with a camera. So, but I did know that I always wanted to work in like film and movies, because that's things that I'm very like passionate about and I love. So I think for people like me that want to do it but haven't really gotten the chance to do things hands-on, I think film school is probably the better way to do it, because you learn the basics and you get introduced to things that you probably didn't know if you wanted to do. Like I started the Nova program with screenwriting, and I hated writing, but then I don't know, something about being able to like write stories that you want to see adapted is kind of like gets you into it. And then this semester, I'm finishing off with editing, and I'm having a blast with it. So like I'm learning so many different things that I never really thought that I would ever learn. And I think that's the benefit that going to film school has. It's just the learning and then you finding what you want to do. And
Right.
plus you make like connections with like classmates and professors and stuff, and then those
Yeah.
professors might know people, and then you just work up from there. That's so. But yeah, since you started in photography, guys, ever since you were young, I can see why somebody like you know, didn't feel the need to like finish and just like went straight on. And you're where you're at now, and that's great. Like,
Yeah, I'm not so much in the production world anymore, but I consult a lot.
Yeah,
So I still in contact with a lot of those studios that I worked with previously for minor projects.
Yeah, Gaz consults me
takes.
whenever I have a mental breakdown on film sets. I remember I was in Czech Republic and I was filming on studio or in a study abroad class, which they have at Nova. And if you haven't gone, guys, and you have the chance, to highly suggest that you learn a lot, both of in the country and film studios and stuff. But it is a lot. So yeah, but I would definitely, if you guys get the chance, it's definitely an experience to have. But I remember Gaz was there when I called him, and I was like, guys, they're doing some really stupid shit here. They're doing some stupid stuff here, man. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm there for you, buddy. So no, Gaz has been a really good friend of mine and is really good at consulting for filmmaking and stuff. But yeah.
I got you. I agree with what you said. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out FAMO, we provide in Nova. It's a fun trip. I haven't gone myself, but I wanted to go. Going back to somewhat with networking and making friends in college or friends outside of college, have you made any projects with friends? Did you prefer to work with friends in the state, or would you prefer to work with strangers?
Oh God, I hope they don't see this. No, I don't like work. Well, yeah, it depends on
who?
what capacity, right?
Gotcha.
So the people I enjoy working with the most, I became friends with after working with them, right? I've done projects just with my buds, and that's fun, but the content itself doesn't always turn out great because it's really hard to be a director or a producer and not hurt your friends' feelings, because part of that is shooting people down and telling them they did a bad job, which is hard to do with your friends. But in a professional capacity, that makes those kinds of conversations way easier. It's not as fun. You don't shoot the shit as much you don't mess around as much when you're on set. But I think for me personally, the output's better, especially in, the roles within the production that I would work. It's much easier for me to do that more clinically, as with a production house than it is with my friends.
No, I totally agree. For me, I love making films with my friends, but I always see myself spending almost tripled the time that I would have normally done with like strangers that know what they're doing. But I'm somewhere in the middle, you can say. Like I love doing at least for me, my friends are also like film enthusiasts and film students, but we also do slack off a lot or like cut corners just to continue having fun or just to make the film easier per se. And I feel like with strangers, everyone's there to get the job done, no matter what type of thing. And yeah, I'm right there in the middle, but I totally agree with what you said. Does anybody else have any experiences? Yeah.
I mean, definitely working with friends, like, you're friends with that person. Sometimes they're not the best. Sometimes they are pretty good at what they do. Most of the time when I'm working on film sets, I don't work with friends, mainly because I think most of the friends I do know are more of, when you're in a film, remember, it's a business. So you have to act in a professional manner, not in very not saying that you can't have friends on set or, help out a friend, say, hey, like I got a film shoot, can you help me with this or something like that.
They don't call it show friendship.
It is, yeah. They don't call it show friendship, and it is a business. You do have to keep a little more professional with it. If your friends can keep it professional, great. If not, then it's really on you as a director, cinematographer, producer, whatever, whoever you're working on the film set and giving the opportunity to be on the film set with. It's really on you to determine whether or not your friend is a good fit and can keep a professional manner when on film set. So not saying that every friend that you have is going to be shitty on film set. Excuse my language. Should great on film set or bad, but it's really up to you to determine that. Remember, it is still a workplace. So yeah.
I totally agree. Hey Joshua, I believe you have a couple questions you'd like to ask Garrison.
I think you guys actually answered some of them,
Most of them. I got you.
but I think that's it for now. Oh, right. So Gaz, you were nominated for an Emmy. I know you briefly talked about it with me.
Yeah.
and I forget what was. I think it was a documentary that you were nominated for.
So I was nominated for 2 Emmys in 2012, one for directing, one for producing, for some commercial work I did for the state of Montana. So I did a disaster preparedness and a safe driving commercial. And somehow, somewhere, some fairy out in the academy decided that my work was Emmy worthy. I would disagree. But here we are. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no. So like, how was it? What's that process like? Like, being nominated. Like, is there a specific process where like they send you a letter, like you're confidential, and you need to do these first 5 things before you officially nominated? Or like,
No, I just I got they're in a I don't know where they are. They're in a drawer somewhere. But no, I got a text that said, "Hey, these came in the mail from you that were at the studio," and it was a letter with the 2 little pieces of paper with the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences seal on it, some signatures, and a picture of a statue. It's pretty cool.
awesome.
I really should frame those and put those up. I'm like half proud of them, and then the other half of me does not want any recognition for anything I do ever.
Yeah, I mean, I know, what was it? It was like some celebrity. She puts the Oscars in her bathroom or something. So like people, just can hold it and look at themselves in the mirror or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely an achievement that I'm sure a lot of people would very much like to achieve, and some would just rather not.
It's not nothing.
But yeah, I would totally agree with you guys. Like, I feel like I would be freaking out, getting nominated at least and stuff like that.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
It's very when I make things that I think are good and people agree with me, I suddenly am suspicious of them.
I don't believe you. No.
Yeah, like I thought it was good until you said it was. Now I don't.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it also goes to show, I mean, it's a commercial, and you might not even be proud of it. But also goes to show for all students and filmmakers out there that sometimes your worst work that you think is the worst to you could be the greatest thing out there. I mean, for example, one of the biggest projects out there that someone made that actually turned out to be one of the biggest projects in the world, or that someone made and thought it was bad, was actually Lucas and his Star Wars.
Oh, I think you lost connection.
Oh, there we go.
Did I get connection?
Oh yeah.
You're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, I think it was Discord because I got a notification. My internet was stable. Yeah, but anyways, so Star Wars, where George Lucas didn't really like his, the film that he made, and it actually turned out to be the biggest hit. And now there's like 50 different franchise like shows and movies out from it now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's one of those things where don't give up on what you're doing.
Just keep pushing.
You never know when it actually might be the best thing you've ever made, even though you don't like it. So, but
yeah. There's 2 valuable lessons I've learned in my career as I think like a final takeaway as we run up on the end of time here. all time. This is the universe ends here in about a minute 30. So buckle up, guys.
God,
No,
I wish I knew this in advance. I did not know that I had to pay for Zoom Pro to get a longer.
right.
gig.
So I think two key takeaways that are kind of tangentially related to everything we've been talking about is just that it's never too late to start. It's, you know, you can, you know, Alan Rickman didn't start acting until he was like 35, right? That's a classic story that we hear all the time. But I think something really important too that a lot of people don't like hearing, and I'll probably get massacred for this, but it's also never too late to give up. It's okay to call it a bad job and just wash your hands. I have, you know, the first half of so many projects and so many terabytes of film where it's like, you know what? I don't think this is working. I think we're just going to have to call it. And being able to identify those scenarios is really important as well, to save yourself, you know, heartbreak and heartache in the future. You know, it's okay it's okay to give up too. Like if you know, I decided that staying in the film industry, you know, full time wasn't for me.
I gotcha.
So, you know, I found ways that I could still interact and still do things related, that brought me joy and allowed me to stay part of the film, you know, world and part of that art.
Couldn't say it better. Well, thank you, Garrison, for being with us today. Thank you